The bustling cafe was alive with chatter and laughter, a stark contrast to the simmering tension surrounding Jordan as he stood at the counter, clutching his phone and a half-empty wallet. He was just another young black man in a city that rarely saw him as such, a recent college graduate juggling 2 part-time jobs to support his family. Little did he know that this ordinary day would take a turn that would change the course of his life forever. As he waited for his coffee, he overheard snippets of conversation from the table next to him. A group of well-dressed patrons laughed loudly, their jovial mood punctuated by the sharp sound of a chair scraping against the tile floor. One of them, a uniformed police officer, stood up to stretch his legs. Jordan tried to ignore the unease creeping into his chest as the officer approached him, his polished badge gleaming in the afternoon sun. Background: Jordan had spent years working hard to achieve his dreams. He had recently graduated from a local university with a degree in business administration, a feat he had accomplished while working nights at a grocery store and weekends at a cafe. His dreams were simple: to rise above the challenges that life had thrown his way, to uplift his family from their financial struggles, and to prove to his younger siblings that they could achieve their goals too. However, despite his determination and hard work, society often defined him by the color of his skin rather than his accomplishments. Setting: the cafe, a cozy little spot tucked away in the heart of the city, was known for its artisanal coffee and eclectic decor. Mismatched chairs and colorful wall art created a welcoming atmosphere, a sanctuary for locals seeking a moment of respite from their busy lives. But today, that warmth felt distant as Jordan braced himself for what was about to unfold. As the officer approached him, Jordan felt a wave of anxiety wash over him. Officer Thompson was a regular at the cafe, known for his strict demeanor and no-nonsense attitude. Jordan had never had a direct encounter with him before, but the officer's reputation preceded him. The cafe quieted slightly as more patrons turned to watch the interaction, a tension palpable in the air. Conflict introduction. "Hey, you," Officer Thompson barked, a condescending smile plastered on his face. Jordan's heart raced as he turned to face the officer, trying to muster a calm exterior. "Are you going to pay for that coffee, or are you just going to stand there and take up space?" The words stung like a slap to the face, leaving Jordan momentarily speechless. The cafe, once filled with the warm hum of conversation, fell into an uncomfortable silence, eyes darting between the two men. Jordan's face flushed as humiliation crept in. He glanced at the cash register, wishing he could just disappear. I'm just waiting for my order," he stammered, trying to keep his voice steady. But Officer Thompson leaned in closer, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Waiting, huh? You sure you can afford it? Don't you think you should be out looking for a real job instead of wasting time here?" A few patrons gasped, and whispers filled the room. Jordan felt the weight of their judgment pressing down on him. This wasn't just an insult. It was a public humiliation that cut deep. Anger bubbled beneath the surface, but he forced himself to stay calm. He took a deep breath, trying to collect his thoughts. Rising tension. The officer continued his tirade, oblivious to the growing discomfort around them. "You know, it's people like you that make my job harder," he sneered. "Maybe if you spent more time working and less time hanging around cafes, you wouldn't be in this position." The laughter of the officer's companions echoed in the background, further amplifying Jordan's sense of isolation. In that moment, he felt stripped of his dignity, reduced to nothing more than a stereotype. He could see the pity in the eyes of some patrons, the indifference in others, but no one dared to speak up. Jordan's mind raced. This was not how he wanted to be seen, not by his community, not by his family, and certainly not by himself. He had dreams and ambitions that went beyond the walls of this cafe. He was more than the color of his skin. He was a son, a brother, a friend, and a hard worker striving for a better life. Turning point. As Officer Thompson continued his tirade, Jordan's anger morphed into determination. He could feel the heat rising in his cheeks, not from embarrassment, but from a resolve that was awakening within him. With each word the officer hurled at him, Jordan realized that he had the power to reclaim his narrative. In that split second, as he stood there, humiliated yet defiant, Jordan made a decision. He would not allow this moment to define him. He would not let a single encounter tarnish his identity or diminish his worth. With a newfound strength, he met the officer's gaze, refusing to back down. "Actually, I'm here because I'm working hard to build a future," Jordan replied, his voice steady. "I'm not taking up space. I'm claiming my place in this world." The words hung in the air, charged with a defiance that surprised even him. For a moment, there was silence. The other patrons, once passive observers, shifted in their seats, unsure of how to react. Officer Thompson, taken aback by the unexpected rebuttal, faltered for a moment, his bravado slipping. Jordan took a step back, a flicker of hope igniting within him. Perhaps this moment could be the catalyst for change, not just for himself, but for others who felt marginalized and voiceless. With that thought in mind, he resolved to speak out, to stand up for himself, and for those who might feel powerless in similar situations. As he turned to leave the cafe, a sense of empowerment washed over him, replacing the shame he had initially felt. Jordan understood that the fight wasn't just about one interaction. It was about challenging the stereotypes and biases that plagued his community every day. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he was ready to face them head-on. Closing thoughts. Little did Jordan know, this confrontation would set off a chain of events that would not only change his life, but also impact his community in ways he could never have imagined. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: Jordan would not remain silent. He would rise to the occasion, armed with his voice and his story, ready to fight against injustice and for the dignity of all. Hook. As Jordan stepped out of the cafe, the warm sun washed over him, but the encounter with Officer Thompson left a bitter chill in his gut. He walked down the street, the sounds of the city buzzing around him, but his mind was elsewhere, still replaying the words that had been hurled at him. "Maybe if you spent more time working," the officer's voice echoed in his head, a reminder of the challenges he faced daily as a young black man in a society that often saw him as less than he was. Background. Determined to shake off the humiliation, Jordan headed to his next job at the grocery store. The rhythmic clanging of the automatic doors as they opened felt familiar, almost comforting. He greeted his coworkers with a smile, but inside, he battled a storm of emotions. The grocery store was a place where he felt somewhat in control, where he could connect with customers and make their day just a bit brighter. Yet that day, the weight of his earlier experience lingered. As Jordan stocked shelves, he found his thoughts drifting back to the cafe incident. His mind spun with a mixture of anger and determination. He had always been the kind of person who tried to rise above negativity, to focus on the good in people. But Officer Thompson's blatant disrespect gnawed at him. Why had he chosen to lash out at him? What had he done to deserve such treatment? Rising action. The following days passed in a blur, each moment haunted by the memory of that confrontation. At work, Jordan's usual enthusiasm began to wane. He struggled to engage with customers, and his coworkers noticed his change in demeanor. They often asked if he was okay, but Jordan brushed off their concerns with a smile, not wanting to burden them with his troubles. He believed he could handle it alone. But as the days turned into a week, the incident took on a life of its own. News of the altercation at the cafe spread through social media, fueled by the bystanders who had witnessed the humiliation unfold. Some supported Jordan, while others took the officer's side, arguing that Jordan had provoked the confrontation. The mixed reactions stung, amplifying his feelings of isolation. It felt as though the world had taken sides, and Jordan found himself standing alone. One evening, while scrolling through his social media feed, he stumbled upon a post that took his breath away. It was a video clip recorded by a patron who had been at the cafe that day. The footage captured the moment Jordan stood up to Officer Thompson, his voice unwavering as he declared his worth. The video was gaining traction, with comments pouring in from people all over the city. Many praised his courage, while others criticized him for confronting an officer. Jordan felt a mix of emotions watching himself in that moment of defiance. The man in the video looked strong, confident, and unapologetic, but that wasn't how he felt. He was grappling with the reality that his story was being shared without his consent, that he had unwittingly become a symbol in a larger narrative. Climax. One evening, as Jordan prepared for his shift at the grocery store, his phone buzzed with an incoming call. It was his friend Malik, a community activist known for his work with local youth programs. "Hey, Jordan, I just saw that video of you at the cafe. Man, that was powerful. You really stood your ground," Malik exclaimed, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. "Thanks, I guess," Jordan replied, feeling the weight of the moment. "But it's not as simple as that. It feels like I'm in the middle of something I didn't ask for. Listen, you've got a chance to turn this around. You've sparked a conversation that needs to be had. Why not share your story? People want to hear from you, not just see a clip," Malik suggested. Jordan hesitated. He had always been private about his struggles and the complexities of his identity. Speaking out would mean exposing his vulnerabilities, something he wasn't sure he was ready to do. But as he pondered Malik's words, he realized that the moment could be more than just a personal confrontation. It could be an opportunity to advocate for others who felt silenced. "I'll think about it," Jordan finally said, uncertainty lacing his voice. Fallout. The next day, Jordan arrived at work, his mind racing with the idea of sharing his story. The weight of his experience with Officer Thompson, combined with the response from the community, urged him to take a stand. But as he navigated through the aisles, he also felt the pressure of expectations. He wasn't just representing himself anymore. He was becoming a voice for many. His shift went by slowly, the familiar rhythm of scanning groceries and helping customers offering a distraction. But each encounter left him feeling more aware of the undercurrents around him. When a group of teenagers came through the line, one of them made a comment about the angry black guy who confronted the police officer. The remark cut deeper than any physical wound. Jordan's heart raced, and he fought the urge to lash out. Instead, he took a deep breath and approached the group. "What do you mean by that?" he asked, his tone calm but firm. The teens exchanged glances, surprised by his directness. "I mean, it's not like you did anything right," one boy muttered. Jordan took a moment, gathering his thoughts. "I think it's important to stand up for yourself, especially when others don't see your worth. Have you ever been treated unfairly?" The boys looked at him, unsure of how to respond. Jordan seized the moment. "It's easy to make assumptions, but everyone has their story. We should try to understand each other instead of tearing each other down." Reflection. That small exchange ignited something in Jordan. He realized that the conversations he had, even the uncomfortable ones, could ripple outwards, creating a space for dialogue and understanding. As the shift ended, he found himself feeling lighter, empowered by the connection he had made. Back home, he finally sat down to write. The words flowed from him, a cathartic release of everything he had been holding in. He shared his story, detailing the encounter at the cafe, the emotions that had surfaced, and the larger societal issues that were at play. He wrote about his dreams, his struggles, and his desire for a world where respect and understanding could replace judgment and prejudice. Once he hit post, he felt a mixture of exhilaration and fear. Would people resonate with his message, or would they tear him down further? As notifications began to pop up, he saw a wave of support from friends and even strangers who shared their own experiences with discrimination and injustice. Jordan realized he wasn't alone in this fight. He had sparked something larger, a movement for change, for dialogue, and for understanding. As he read through the comments, he felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps his voice could be part of a greater chorus calling for equity and respect in their community. Closing thoughts. Little by little, Jordan found a sense of purpose emerging from the ashes of that initial humiliation. His voice, once silenced by fear, was becoming a rallying cry for those who felt unheard. The road ahead was still fraught with challenges, but he was ready to embrace the journey, armed with his story and the support of a community eager for change. As the sun set on another day, he felt a renewed sense of determination. Jordan was no longer just a victim of circumstance. He was an advocate for change, standing up not only for himself, but for everyone who had ever felt marginalized or disrespected. The battle was just beginning, and he was ready to fight. Hook. Jordan woke up the next day to the sound of his phone buzzing relentlessly on the nightstand. Groggy and still half asleep, he reached for it, squinting at the bright screen. Notifications flooded in, likes, shares, and comments on his recent post about the incident at the cafe. As he read through the words of encouragement and shared stories of others who had faced similar situations, an unexpected surge of determination washed over him. This was just the beginning. Background. Determined to build on the momentum, Jordan decided to take action. His thoughts were clearer now. He wanted to be a catalyst for change within his community. The harsh words exchanged with Officer Thompson had become a rallying cry, igniting a fire in him that he had never realized was there. He grabbed his laptop and started planning a community forum where people could share their experiences and discuss the challenges of racism, discrimination, and the role of law enforcement in their lives. Jordan envisioned an open space where individuals could voice their thoughts without fear of judgment or reprisal. He wanted to create an environment of healing and understanding, a stark contrast to the hostility he had faced. With his mind racing, he mapped out the logistics, from securing a venue to reaching out to potential speakers. He needed the support of his friends and family, so he organized a meeting that evening. Rising action. That evening, the living room was filled with friends and supporters, each bringing their unique perspectives. Malik was there, along with a few other community members who had previously worked on advocacy projects. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement and purpose as they discussed the forum idea. We need to get the word out and make it inclusive. Everyone should feel welcome to share, Malik suggested, leaning forward, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. As the group brainstormed, Jordan felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. They were all invested in this cause, ready to support one another. I want to focus on personal stories, how racism has affected our lives, and how we can work together to change perceptions, Jordan said. They discussed potential speakers, community leaders, educators, and people who had experienced discrimination firsthand. They also considered inviting law enforcement representatives to foster dialogue, although Jordan felt hesitant. Would they truly be willing to listen? Let's reach out to Officer Thompson, Malik suggested, breaking through Jordan's doubts. If he's willing to come and hear your story, it could open up a conversation that many people are afraid to have. The idea both excited and terrified Jordan. The thought of facing the officer again brought back the raw feelings of humiliation, but he realized this could be an opportunity for reconciliation, perhaps even for understanding. Climax. As the days turned into weeks, the community forum began to take shape. Flyers were designed, social media posts were shared, and a buzz of anticipation built among the residents. Jordan's anxiety also grew. What if no one showed up? What if the wrong people attended? The night before the event, Jordan lay awake in bed, his mind racing. He thought about his own experience, the feelings of anger and hopelessness that had consumed him. The forum could either be a monumental success or a painful failure. When he finally fell asleep, he dreamt of a packed room, filled with voices sharing stories of resilience and hope. They stood together, united in their resolve to challenge the status quo. The day of the forum arrived, and Jordan felt a mix of excitement and dread as he prepared the venue. He arrived early at the community center, watching as chairs were arranged in a semicircle, creating an intimate space for conversation. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as people began to trickle in. Jordan stood at the front of the room, his heart racing as he scanned the crowd. Familiar faces mingled with those he didn't recognize. It felt like a tapestry of the community, different ages, backgrounds, and stories coming together for a common cause. As the event began, Jordan introduced himself and shared his experience with Officer Thompson. The tension in the room was palpable as he spoke, but he quickly saw the engagement on the faces of the audience. Their eyes were locked on him, their attention unwavering. He felt empowered, as if each word was a step toward reclaiming his narrative. Fallout. The forum unfolded into an honest and heartfelt conversation. People shared their stories of discrimination, from subtle microaggressions to overt racism. A woman recounted her experience of being followed around a store because of her race. A young man spoke of being pulled over for driving while black, detailing how that encounter had shaken his sense of safety. Jordan listened, realizing the shared pain that ran through their narratives. They were all carrying their burdens, and it was in the sharing that they found relief and solidarity. The room felt like a sanctuary, a space where vulnerability was welcomed and supported. As the night progressed, Malik facilitated the discussion, encouraging everyone to engage with one another. "We need to find ways to bridge the gaps," he said, urging the group to brainstorm solutions. "What can we do to foster understanding between the community and law enforcement?" The conversation grew richer, with ideas flying around the room. Someone suggested creating community outreach programs that involved officers in neighborhood events. Another idea was to establish mentorship opportunities for youth, fostering positive relationships with law enforcement from an early age. Jordan felt a sense of hope blossom within him. This forum wasn't just about sharing pain. It was about envisioning a future where empathy and understanding could flourish. The discussions provided a blueprint for change, and he couldn't help but feel proud of what they were building together. Reflection. Toward the end of the evening, Jordan felt a shift in the atmosphere. People were energized, sharing contact information and discussing ways to stay connected. As he looked around, he realized that they were forming a community of advocates, ready to tackle the injustices that had affected them for far too long. Just as the forum was winding down, Jordan spotted Officer Thompson entering the room. The air became charged with tension. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as eyes turned toward the officer, who looked noticeably uncomfortable but determined. Jordan's heart raced. Would this be a moment of conflict or understanding? With a deep breath, Jordan stepped forward to address the officer. "Thank you for coming. We've been discussing our experiences and the impact of your actions on that day." His voice wavered slightly, but he held his ground. "We want to foster a dialogue about how we can work together to build trust between our community and law enforcement." Officer Thompson nodded slowly, his expression shifting from defensiveness to a semblance of remorse. "I want to apologize for my actions that day," he said, his voice steady but soft. "I didn't realize how my words would affect you or how they reflect a larger issue. I'm here to listen." The room fell silent as Jordan processed the officer's words. This was the opportunity he had hoped for, a chance for healing and reconciliation. "I appreciate your willingness to listen," he said, feeling the weight of the moment. "We need more conversations like this, where we can address the issues openly." Closing thoughts. As the forum concluded, Jordan felt a wave of relief wash over him. It had been a challenging but necessary step toward change. The community had come together, and even Officer Thompson had taken a brave step forward, acknowledging the impact of his actions. That night, as he lay in bed, he reflected on the journey he had taken from humiliation to empowerment. He understood that the road ahead would be long, filled with challenges, but the conversations they had started could lead to lasting change. Jordan smiled, knowing he was no longer alone in this fight. Together, they would continue to challenge the narratives that sought to divide them, forging a path toward understanding and unity. Hook. The next day, Jordan awoke with a renewed sense of purpose. The echoes of the previous night's discussions lingered in his mind, fueling his determination to push forward. As he brewed his morning coffee, he thought about how he could harness the momentum from the forum. This was not just about sharing stories. It was about effecting real change in their community. Jordan grabbed his notebook and started jotting down ideas for next steps. Background. The sun streamed through the window as Jordan flipped through his notes, recalling the collective resolve in the room the night before. People had expressed a genuine desire for a better relationship with law enforcement, and now it was time to put those ideas into action. He wanted to create ongoing dialogue between the community and local police, establishing a platform where voices could be heard and understood. After a quick breakfast, he contacted Malik and a few others who had shown interest in helping. They agreed to meet at a local cafe to brainstorm ideas and strategies. As he walked to the cafe, Jordan's mind raced with possibilities. Mentorship programs, community policing initiatives, and awareness campaigns. He wanted to address the root causes of the issues they had discussed, reaching beyond the surface and tackling systemic problems. When Jordan arrived at the cafe, he was greeted by Malik and a couple of others, all eager to contribute. The atmosphere was charged with excitement as they shared their thoughts. "We need to establish a committee or group dedicated to community outreach," Malik suggested, his hands animated as he spoke. "Let's invite local leaders, school officials, and even members of the police department to join." Jordan nodded, feeling the energy in the room. "That's a great idea. We should also create a social media presence to share our message and keep the community informed about our initiatives. Let's promote events, share stories, and highlight positive interactions between community members and police." Rising action. With their plan taking shape, the group set a timeline for their first community meeting, inviting residents and law enforcement alike. They wanted to create an environment where open dialogue was encouraged, allowing everyone to share their experiences and ideas for improvement. Jordan took the lead in drafting an agenda, including time for personal stories, discussion on community concerns, and brainstorming solutions. Over the next few weeks, they spread the word through flyers, social media, and local news outlets. The response was overwhelming. People were eager to participate, wanting their voices to be heard. As the date of the meeting approached, Jordan felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. What if the conversations became heated? What if misunderstandings arose? He knew these were valid concerns, but he was determined to navigate them with grace and courage. On the day of the meeting, the community center was buzzing with activity. Chairs were arranged in a circle, creating an inclusive atmosphere. Jordan and Malik arrived early to set up, feeling the weight of their mission. They wanted to ensure that everyone felt welcome and safe, especially those who might be apprehensive about sharing their stories. As the meeting began, Jordan welcomed everyone warmly, introducing the purpose of the gathering. He emphasized the importance of listening and understanding, encouraging participants to approach the conversations with an open mind. The room filled with a diverse group of people, including young adults, families, and older community members. Jordan noticed Officer Thompson was present, sitting quietly at the back. The sight made his stomach churn slightly, but he reminded himself of the growth and understanding they were trying to foster. Climax. The meeting kicked off with personal stories. One by one, participants shared their experiences with racism and discrimination, while others expressed their concerns about policing in the community. Each story was met with empathy and respect, creating an atmosphere of support. Jordan was moved by the vulnerability of the speakers. Their courage ignited a fire within him to continue this essential dialogue. As the discussions progressed, a middle-aged woman named Sarah stood up. Her voice trembled slightly as she shared her story of being racially profiled while shopping at a local store. "I felt humiliated, like I was less than human. It was as if my skin color defined me rather than my character," she said, tears brimming in her eyes. The room was silent, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Jordan felt a deep sense of connection with her pain. "Thank you for sharing that with us," "Sarah," he said, his voice steady, "your story is important, and it highlights the need for change." As the dialogue continued, Jordan noticed some attendees nodding in agreement while others looked contemplative. Officer Thompson, who had been quiet up until this point, finally raised his hand. "I want to apologize to all of you. I never understood the impact of my words until I heard these stories. I'm here to listen and learn, and I want to do better," he said, his voice genuine. The room erupted in murmurs. Some were skeptical, while others were hopeful. Jordan sensed the tension, but he also recognized an opportunity for healing. "Thank you, Officer Thompson. This is what we need. Open dialogue and willingness to understand one another," he responded, trying to bridge the gap. Followed. As the meeting progressed, Jordan facilitated a discussion about practical solutions to the issues raised. People suggested forming small community groups focused on specific topics, like youth outreach, mental health resources, and police accountability. Each suggestion was met with enthusiasm, and the energy in the room was palpable. One participant proposed a community cleanup event that would involve both residents and officers, fostering camaraderie through a shared purpose. Another idea was to host monthly coffee mornings, where community members could interact with police in a casual setting. "It's about building trust," someone said. "If we can see each other as neighbors rather than adversaries, we can start changing perceptions." Jordan felt a surge of hope as the ideas flowed. They were not just talking about problems, they were creating solutions. The conversation turned into a brainstorming session, with people eagerly jotting down plans and assigning tasks. Jordan felt the sense of community swell within him, realizing that they were all working toward a common goal. As the meeting drew to a close, Jordan looked around at the faces in the room. He saw hope, determination, and resilience. They had created a space for dialogue, and while challenges remained, they were ready to face them together. Reflection. In the days that followed, Jordan and his team worked tirelessly to implement the ideas generated during the meeting. They launched social media campaigns to promote upcoming events, encouraging people to participate and share their experiences. The community engagement was overwhelming, and Jordan felt a sense of pride in the progress they were making. As he walked through the neighborhood, he saw flyers posted on bulletin boards, inviting everyone to the upcoming community cleanup event. Children played outside, while families gathered for picnics, laughter ringing through the air. Jordan realized that this was more than just a movement. It was a celebration of community spirit. However, not everything was smooth sailing. Jordan faced backlash from some who were resistant to change. Social media comments criticized his efforts, claiming that he was trying to create division rather than unity. These criticisms stung, but Jordan remained focused on the bigger picture. He knew that change was often met with resistance, but he was determined to push forward. He reached out to Officer Thompson again, inviting him to join in the community cleanup. To his surprise, the officer readily agreed, stating, "I want to be part of this change, and I'm willing to show my commitment to the community." Closing thoughts. As the cleanup event approached, Jordan felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. He wanted the event to be a success, a tangible representation of their collective efforts. The day of the cleanup arrived, and he was awestruck by the turnout. Families, friends, and even local businesses came out to lend a hand. With trash bags in hand, they spread throughout the neighborhood, chatting and laughing as they worked side by side. Jordan felt a sense of unity that was palpable. Barriers were breaking down, and connections were being forged. As he glanced over to see Officer Thompson laughing with a group of kids, Jordan realized that this was just the beginning. They were taking tangible steps toward understanding and reconciliation, one act of kindness at a time. And as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Jordan knew that change was possible. They had created a foundation for ongoing dialogue, and the seeds of hope were beginning to blossom. Hook. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the neighborhood, the cleanup event came to a close. Laughter and chatter filled the air, a stark contrast to the tension that had once permeated the community. Jordan stood back and surveyed the scene, his heart swelling with pride at the transformation taking place. Little did he know, this day would lead to an unexpected turning point for him, the community, and Officer Thompson. Background: the following week, Jordan received an email that would change everything. It was an invitation from the local community center to host a town hall meeting focused on community police relations, a direct result of the positive momentum from the cleanup event. They'd wanted him to take the lead, facilitating discussions on how to improve these relations and further unite the community. He felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was an opportunity to amplify their message and create a platform for even more voices to be heard. But the pressure to deliver weighed heavily on his shoulders. He reached out to Malik and a few others from the cleanup event to form a planning committee, determined to ensure that everyone's perspectives were represented. As they gathered at Malik's house, the group brainstormed topics and speakers for the town hall. They discussed potential local leaders, activists, and even community members who could share their stories. Jordan took detailed notes, his enthusiasm growing with each new idea. They wanted to create a space where everyone felt empowered to share their experiences and propose solutions. Rising action. In the days leading up to the town hall, Jordan devoted himself to preparation. He spent hours crafting an agenda, emphasizing the importance of respect and understanding. He reached out to Officer Thompson, inviting him to participate as well. To his surprise, the officer agreed, stating, "I believe in this initiative, and I want to be part of the solution." The night of the town hall arrived, and the community center buzzed with anticipation. Residents trickled in, their faces a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. As people took their seats, Jordan looked around, noticing both familiar and new faces. Malik stood by his side, offering words of encouragement. "We've got this, man. Just remember why we're here," he said, clapping Jordan on the back. As the meeting began, Jordan welcomed everyone warmly, emphasizing the importance of listening to one another. He introduced Officer Thompson, who stood up to speak, his posture relaxed but serious. "I'm here tonight not just as a police officer, but as a member of this community. I want to hear your stories, your concerns, and work together to build trust," he said, his sincerity apparent. Climax. The first speaker was a young woman named Angela, who shared her experience of being stopped by police while walking home from school. Her voice shook slightly as she recounted the fear she felt when she was questioned about her whereabouts. "I didn't do anything wrong, but I felt like a criminal. It's terrifying to think that just walking home could put me in danger," she said, her eyes glistening with emotion. The room was silent, the weight of her words resonating with everyone present. Jordan could see the impact of her story on Officer Thompson, who listened intently, nodding in acknowledgement. "Thank you for sharing that, Angela," Jordan responded, his voice steady. "It's crucial for us to understand how these experiences affect our lives." As the night continued, more voices rose, sharing stories that were raw and revealing. Each narrative highlighted the struggles within their community and their desire for understanding. The atmosphere was charged, and people began to engage in dialogue, expressing their frustrations, but also their hopes for a better future. Then came a moment that would change the course of the evening. An older man named Mr. Jenkins stood up, his voice gruff but filled with emotion. "I remember a time when this community felt safe, where we looked out for one another. But things have changed, and we've lost that connection. We need to remember that we're all human beings," he stated, his eyes scanning the room. His words struck a chord with the audience, and the tension in the air shifted. People began to nod in agreement, reflecting on their shared experiences. It was as if the barriers between the community and law enforcement were beginning to crumble, replaced by a sense of unity and shared responsibility. Fallout. As the town hall continued, Jordan facilitated discussions around potential solutions, encouraging attendees to brainstorm ways to foster better relations between the community and police. Ideas flowed freely. Community forums, youth mentorship programs, and collaborative events aimed at building trust. At one point, Officer Thompson spoke up. "I believe we need to focus on transparency and accountability within the police department. It's not just about addressing concerns, but also actively showing the community that we are here to protect and serve," he asserted, earning nods of approval from the crowd. The atmosphere shifted from skepticism to hope as people began to share their own ideas on how they could work together. Jordan felt a sense of relief and joy. They were moving in the right direction, and the dialogue was flourishing. As the night drew to a close, Jordan looked around the room, his heart full. The connections forged that evening were palpable, and he realized this was just the beginning. They had created a space where voices were heard and discussions were welcomed. It was a powerful reminder that change often starts with understanding and compassion. Reflection. In the weeks following the town hall, the community began to witness the fruits of their labor. Local news outlets reported on the initiative, highlighting the positive interactions between residents and police. Social media buzzed with excitement as people shared their stories and the events they had attended. Jordan received numerous messages from community members expressing their gratitude for the platform they had created. They shared stories of new friendships formed and initiatives they were starting in their neighborhoods. He felt a profound sense of purpose, realizing that their efforts were making a tangible difference. Officer Thompson continued to be actively involved, attending community events and engaging with residents. He initiated training sessions for his colleagues focused on empathy, communication, and cultural sensitivity, aiming to transform the department from within. Jordan appreciated the officers' dedication and willingness to be a part of the solution, recognizing that real change required both sides to commit. However, not everyone was receptive to the changes. Some community members remained skeptical, hesitant to trust law enforcement. Jordan knew they had to continue the conversation and address these concerns. He organized follow-up meetings, encouraging open dialogue and creating opportunities for residents to share their feelings. Closing thoughts. As the months passed, the community began to heal. Neighborhood events became common, bringing together residents and police officers in a celebratory atmosphere. They hosted block parties, youth sports leagues, and community art projects, each event fostering connection and collaboration. Jordan often reflected on the journey, grateful for the unexpected events that had brought everyone together. He realized that every story shared had the power to inspire change, and every voice mattered in the ongoing dialogue. One evening, as he sat on his porch watching the sunset, Jordan received a call from Malik. "Hey, man, we did it. The mayor wants to recognize our efforts in the next town hall meeting. This is huge," Malik exclaimed, his excitement palpable over the phone. Jordan's heart raced. This recognition was not just about their work, but about bringing the community together. "This is amazing. We've come so far, and it's just the beginning. Let's keep pushing forward," he replied, his voice filled with determination. As they spoke, Jordan realized that this journey was about more than just improving relations. It was about creating a community where everyone felt safe, valued, and heard. He was proud to be part of something larger than himself, and he knew that their shared efforts would continue to ripple through the community, inspiring others to join the cause. The journey ahead would be challenging, but together, they were forging a new path, one of understanding, empathy, and hope for a brighter future. Hook. Months after the town hall meeting that sparked a transformation in the community, Jordan found himself standing at the entrance of the local community center once again. The air buzzed with anticipation as preparations were underway for the mayor's recognition ceremony, honoring the efforts of residents and police in rebuilding trust. Little did he know that this event would not only celebrate their achievements, but also challenge them to confront the future. Background. The ceremony was set to showcase the collaborative initiatives born from the town hall discussions, community events, youth programs, and even a partnership with local schools to educate students about civic engagement and the importance of understanding one another. Jordan arrived early, his heart racing with excitement, and a hint of anxiety. He had put countless hours into ensuring that the community's voices were amplified, and now it was all coming to fruition. As he helped set up the chairs and decorations, he exchanged pleasantries with other committee members, each of whom had become a familiar face in his journey. Malik was already on site, coordinating volunteers and making sure everything was perfect. "This is it, man. Look at how far we've come," he exclaimed, gesturing toward the bustling room filled with residents and officers, mingling, sharing stories, and laughter. Jordan smiled, reflecting on how their shared experiences had created new bonds among community members and law enforcement. However, there was still a sense of urgency in the air. They had made progress, but the journey was far from over. Rising action. As guests began to fill the seats, Jordan noticed a mix of emotions on their faces: hope, excitement, but also skepticism. Some residents still harbored doubts about whether the changes would last, or if they were just temporary gestures. He knew that the true test lay ahead, and they had to demonstrate that their efforts were rooted in a genuine desire for lasting change. The ceremony commenced with the mayor's speech, who praised the community's resilience and commitment to improvement. "This is a testament to what we can achieve when we come together. Your voices matter, and today we celebrate not just the progress we've made, but the promise of a brighter future," the mayor declared, earning applause from the audience. As the mayor spoke, Jordan's mind wandered back to that fateful day when he had confronted Officer Thompson. He could still feel the weight of that moment, the tension in the air, and the shock of their encounter. Now it felt like a lifetime ago. The community had taken that initial confrontation and turned it into an opportunity for dialogue and change. The mayor introduced the next speaker, Officer Thompson. As he took the stage, Jordan felt a mix of emotions: anticipation, curiosity, and a hint of apprehension. How would the officer address the community? Climax. Officer Thompson stood at the podium, the room falling silent as he began to speak. "Thank you all for being here today. I want to start by acknowledging the pain that some of you have experienced. I know that my role as a police officer comes with a lot of responsibility, and I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem," he said, his voice steady and sincere. He went on to share his own journey, recounting how the town hall meeting had opened his eyes to the realities faced by community members. "I realized that I needed to listen more than I spoke, to understand the stories that had shaped your lives. I committed myself to improving our relationship with you, to ensure that every one of you feels safe and valued," he continued. His words resonated throughout the room, and Jordan felt the atmosphere shift as people began to lean in, eager to hear more. Officer Thompson announced a series of upcoming training programs for the police department focused on community engagement, transparency, and understanding racial dynamics. "It's not just about enforcement. It's about building trust and fostering relationships," he stated. The audience erupted in applause, a wave of support washing over the room. Jordan felt a surge of hope, realizing that they were moving in the right direction. However, the true turning point came when Officer Thompson acknowledged his past mistakes. "I know I've made errors in judgment, and I want to apologize for any harm I've caused. I'm here to learn and to grow, and I hope you'll allow me the opportunity to earn your trust back," he said, his humility palpable. The crowd was visibly moved, and Jordan could see the barriers beginning to crumble. Officer Thompson had taken a significant step by admitting his faults, demonstrating vulnerability in a way that few officers dared to do. It sparked a conversation within the audience, where residents began to share their feelings about forgiveness, accountability, and the importance of healing. Fallout. As the ceremony continued, Jordan felt a sense of unity that he had never experienced before. The lines that had once divided the community and police began to blur, replaced by an understanding that they were all in this together. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation for what lay ahead, and residents began to engage with one another and with the officers in a more meaningful way. After the formalities, people mingled and shared ideas for future collaborations. Jordan overheard conversations about organizing community dinners with officers, mentoring programs for local youth, and creating a community watch initiative that would involve both residents and police. Malik approached Jordan, a broad grin on his face. "Can you believe this? We've come so far. I never thought we could actually create this kind of dialogue," he said, excitement evident in his voice. "It feels like a new chapter is beginning." Jordan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. "Yeah, but we can't stop here. We have to keep pushing for transparency and understanding. We need to follow through with these initiatives and ensure that they're not just for show," he replied, determination in his tone. As the evening wore on, Jordan noticed Officer Thompson speaking with several community members, genuinely listening to their stories and concerns. It was a sight that filled him with hope. The officer was not only present, but actively seeking to bridge the gap that had existed for so long. However, amid the celebration, Jordan knew they still faced challenges. Not everyone was on board, and there were still community members who felt marginalized and unheard. He also worried about whether Officer Thompson would continue to uphold his commitment. Would the changes they'd discussed become a reality, or would they fade away like so many past promises? Reflection. In the weeks following the ceremony, the community began to witness the ripple effects of their efforts. The partnerships between residents and police flourished, with several community events planned and executed collaboratively. Jordan felt a renewed sense of purpose as he actively participated in these gatherings, encouraging dialogue and promoting understanding. However, he also understood that they couldn't afford to become complacent. The journey ahead would require vigilance and dedication. One day, while reviewing emails, Jordan stumbled upon a message from a concerned resident. It detailed an encounter with a police officer who had not adhered to the principles they had established during their initiatives. The email struck a chord, serving as a stark reminder that change is often met with resistance. Jordan quickly reached out to Malik and the planning committee. "We need to address this. We can't let one negative experience overshadow everything we've accomplished. We need to hold ourselves accountable and ensure that everyone is treated with respect," he said, determination etched on his face. They organized a follow-up meeting to discuss the incident and strategize on how to address concerns from the community. During the meeting, various residents shared their experiences, both positive and negative. It was an important moment for everyone involved, reinforcing the need for continuous dialogue and the importance of accountability. Jordan proposed creating an anonymous feedback system where residents could report concerns or share positive experiences with the police. The group embraced the idea, recognizing the importance of giving everyone a voice in the ongoing conversation. Closing thoughts. As the months turned into years, the community continued to thrive. Their commitment to open dialogue and collaboration bore fruit, resulting in meaningful change and a more trusting relationship between residents and law enforcement. Jordan often reflected on the journey, the challenges, the triumphs, and the shared stories that had united them. One sunny afternoon, as he sat in the community center's garden, he watched children play, their laughter echoing in the air. He realized that their efforts had created a safer, more inclusive environment for future generations. It was a testament to the power of empathy and understanding. Jordan picked up his phone and sent a message to Malik. "We did it, man. Look at how far we've come." Within moments, Malik replied, "This is just the beginning. We'll keep pushing for change. Together, we can do anything." In that moment, Jordan felt a profound sense of gratitude, not just for the accomplishments they had achieved, but for the relationships they had forged along the way. They were no longer just a community divided by their differences. They had become a tapestry of shared experiences and aspirations. As the sun set on another beautiful day, Jordan knew that the path ahead would still have its challenges, but he was ready to face them head-on. He believed in the strength of their collective voice and the resilience of their community. Together, they were shaping a brighter future, one story at a time.